What if I told you that the hardest part about hearing God isn't that he's silent, but is that your own thoughts are too loud? The question isn't, does God still speak? The real question is, can you recognize his voice? Step 1, respect God's voice. Most people want to hear God, but they treat his voice like background noise. You're too busy scrolling, multitasking, and looking for signs, but never once have you sat still long enough to notice when God is actually speaking. If you want to hear him, treat his words like they matter, even when they're subtle. Step 2, become obsessed with the Bible. I can't stress this enough. This is the step many believers miss. They treat reading the Bible like a checklist or some kind of chore to get through, rather than an actual genuine conversation with God. And this is why a good number of believers often find themselves easily deceived. It is because they don't really know God's word. God's voice will never contradict his word, ever. That's your foundation. If the thought in your head pushes pride, revenge, or comfort over calling, you will know that's not him, because you know his word. Even Jesus in the wilderness didn't argue with his feelings. He answered with, "It is written." Step 3, fall in love with repetition. Hearing God isn't about one dramatic encounter. It's about consistency. Many believers are often waiting for that moment for where the skies open and there's a thunderous voice speaking from heaven. If this is you, you're going to be waiting for a long time. You know a friend's voice because you spent years with them. You know God's voice by daily time with him. The more you walk with him, the less you second guess his voice. With that being said, you're probably asking, how do you actually know if that voice is from God, yourself, or the enemy? Well, here's the breakdown. If the voice comes from your flesh, it will most likely be impulsive, urgent, comfortable, and will say something like, "You deserve this, don't stress." God will understand. It feels easy in the moment, but it ends up costing you later. If it's from the enemy, it would be clever, condemning, and deceptive. The devil often twists half-truths, such as, "You'll never change. If this was really God, it wouldn't be so hard." It sounds logical, but it leaves you in shame, fear, and doubt. Adam and Eve is a good example of this. The devil in Genesis chapter 3 asked Eve, "Has God really said not to eat from any tree?" The devil was clearly trying to get Eve to doubt herself, for which she did. God's voice convicts you. The devil's voice condemns you. And finally, God's voice. God's voice is peaceful, it's consistent, and convicting, but never crushing. He calls you out, but always calls you back, as stated in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28. So how do you tell God's voice from your own thoughts? If it pushes you closer to him, it's God. If it isolates you, accuses you, pressures you, or takes you away from God, it's not. Think about Elijah. He looked for God in the wind, the fire, the earthquake, but God came in a whisper. Sometimes the loudest voice in your head or around you is not the truest one. So the real secret to recognizing God's voice is being the person who sits with him daily, returning to him again and again. Because the truth is, you can't hear a voice you haven't made time to know. You've been waiting for a louder sign, but God is waiting for a deeper relationship. And when you finally learn his voice, you realize that one whisper from him is all you need.